BattleBit Remastered is plain fun. I know that may sound like a somewhat strange, maybe to some very obvious statement to make at the start of a video, but as we're left to anxiously wait for the game to release and we're forced to play other first-person shooter games in the interim, I'm constantly reminded just how much I miss BattleBit's focus on one core thing: being bloody fun. G'day there once again viewers, your mate Kamikaze78 here, and today I really want to take a moment to highlight and somewhat pay homage to the underlying thing that keeps me coming back to BattleBit Remastered. That is the fun factor. So, I will admit guys, today's video is... I'm not even sure how to really word it. It's very spur of the moment, maybe even random, especially for my style of content. But after playing in last night's playtest, I just felt like sitting down and having a more chilled conversation about just BattleBit in general, right? I've spent a lot of time in my previous videos about BattleBit talking about all of the mechanical elements that the game gets right. You know, talking about the solid gunplay, the destruction, the cool and unique mechanics that underpin things like helicopters in the game and, you know, the zip lines and stuff like that. Just the general attention to detail with the game's overarching design. I mean, come on, it's no secret that I have a true admiration for all of these elements and the majority of decisions that have brought the game to the state that it is in today. And the end result of all this is an experience that feels like both skilled play and casual play is rewarded without sort of stepping on the toes of one another. Like both team play and solo play have an opportunity to succeed. Like you can approach the game as a brand new player and still feel like you can begin to excel with some hard practice. You know, all the stuff that you would come to expect from a good, well-balanced first-person shooter title. But ultimately, and while all of this stuff is what makes an amazing shooter that keeps players coming back, it's BattleBit's fun aspect that is the thing that I miss the most when I can't play this game during the week, and when I've got to wait for the playtests. And the fun factor of BattleBit isn't something that I attribute to one mechanic, or one game mode, or one style of play for that matter. It's the aggregate effort of everything, all the features, all the tools, all the mechanics, and dare I say, some of the restrictions that the game has that aim to cultivate, above all else, a fucking fun first-person shooter game. You know, there's fun to be had in the core shooting mechanics and the moments in which you go on those epic kill streaks where you happen to get a sweet flank and take out a whole squad. There's fun to be had in you and your mates pushing an objective together and making the play that may very well swing the entire outcome of the match in your favor. There's fun to be had in doing dumb shit like strapping C4 to a drone or a quad bike and sending that cheeky sniper to the Shadow Realm because he got you just that one too many times. There's fun to be had in a vehicle and taking on vehicles, and that sense of accomplishment that comes from either destroying that tank with a well-placed rocket shot or escaping said shot as you pull some of the most cursed evasive maneuvers in a tank that you've ever seen. There's fun to be had in the social interaction of the game, both with your teammates and the enemies through the in-game's VoIP functionality. Seriously, I've never seen a game so effectively incorporate cross-team VoIP while also keeping a coherent experience in the play of the game. And the funny part there is, because there's cross-team VoIP, there's going to be moments where, guess what? There's fun in dying because you may come across somebody who you recognize, you got a bit of banter and a bit of a relationship going, and you guys just start talking shit in the in-game VoIP chat right then and there, just throwing the banter back and forth. Again, there's fun in even dying in this game. Being genuine here, I'm not sure there's ever been a session with BattleBit where I've caught myself being frustrated for any longer than a brief moment in time, right? Maybe I died and lost an epic flank due to a bad reload or bad choice of target from me. There'll be a blip of frustration in that kind of moment. But beyond that, I always walk away with the biggest, dumbest grin on my face despite currently only being able to play this game in the wee hours of a Sunday morning here in Australia. And the reason I bring all of this up, the reason I highlight this, ladies and gentlemen, is because I find myself playing a lot of other first-person shooters that are out there between the BattleBit playtests. It's the genre of choice for me. And I don't know, it just feels like there's this lacking focus on fun in gaming nowadays, you know? In my latest stream on Twitch playing BattleBit, which I highly recommend following that channel if you haven't done so already, link is in the description down below. In said stream, me and my mates really caught ourselves reminiscing on how much we were looking forward to being able to play this game whenever we wanted, and how it really felt like the only FPS that we were having constant fun in right now. There are, of course, those fun moments in a lot of other shooters that I play, don't get me wrong, but with a lot of other titles, I'm often met by moments of frustration or resistance from the game itself that gets in the way of me having the best time possible. You know, these can be small teething issues, or they can be problems with the balance, or just wider issues with the mechanics of the game that are actively frustrating to face. Let's take Call of Duty, for example, a game that, to me, once upon a time, was all about jumping in with mates after having a long day at work or school at the time, and just shooting the shit. Jumping on, having some bants, murking out in some COD lobbies, and just going from there. Some of us were great at the game, some of us were less so, but we all managed to have a good time. But nowadays, things like an overly egregious skill-based matchmaking makes the lobbies an absolute living hell for people who fall outside of the skill level of the better players in a friendship group, and on top of that, it requires the skilled players in the group to sweat like they're fighting for a championship just for a chance to score a 1.0 KD. Sure, it's an opportunity to quote-unquote pop off, and you'll have those moments of success, but on average, I'm having less fun than what I was in COD games because the very system of the game will at times take that element of fun straight away from you. To change tunes for a moment here, what about Battlefield? This was always a game I would go to for sweet, balanced, combined arms gameplay that offered moments of carnage with the destruction system and a community focus through a server browser that allowed you to build relationships or curate exactly what kind of experience you wanted to get out of your evening of Battlefield gameplay. That sense of community, that sense of destruction, and a healthy interaction between the infantry and vehicles in the game, well, that just feels lost in Battlefield 2042. Sure, those only in Battlefield moments are still there, and that certainly is a good deal of fun, but I remember when those moments used to be the standouts on top of good gameplay and on top of a good, fun community environment. The core gameplay nowadays just feels like a secondary consideration to those, only in Battlefield moments, and it kind of feels like the only in Battlefield moments are sort of the foundation that keeps the Battlefield franchise going now, as opposed to the good core gameplay being the foundation, and then those only in Battlefield moments being the sweet spot. Hope I made sense with that one. That might seem a bit rambly to some people, but it made sense in my head, so we're rolling with it. Even that sense of competition among friend and foe was non-existent when Battlefield 2042 launched, with the lack of a scoreboard, which again just takes away an element of the fun and the banter and the camaraderie that came from the Battlefield experience and from an experience of first-person shooter games in general. I could honestly go on and on, but if we were to pick apart every FPS game that's out there right now, we'd be here for hours, and quite frankly, no one wants to hear that. And I'm not saying that every FPS game out there falls into the same distinct issues that, say, COD or Battlefield have that I just mentioned earlier. Just when I look at the first-person shooter games that are out there now across the market, I kind of get this distinct sense that fun, to some extent or another, has kind of become less of a focal point in the industry as of late. And it feels incredibly rejuvenating to play an FPS game that really does feel like it's built with player enjoyability in mind from the ground up. Again, when I think back to my time playing BattleBit, and trust me, I have tried to do a lot of thinking back on this because I don't want to seem like I'm just shilling BattleBit blindly here, but there's genuinely not a single moment I can think back to where I go, yeah, that wasn't a good session, or yeah, BattleBit was particularly frustrating for an entire session here, or whatever the case may be. There's just a lot of attention to detail from go to woe here that, again, yes, produces a good game mechanically, but it also just encourages fun to be had, and it gives players the tools to achieve the kind of fun they're looking for without stepping on the toes of the other players that may be in the game, at least to such an egregious amount. BattleBit does just feel like one of the first games that we've had in a long-ass time that just seems to be focusing on giving both your absolute giga sweat of a player and your casual, one play session a night Andy, an ability to have some fun in the game. And for that, I have nothing but respect for the game, because I do feel like in other areas of the first-person shooter genre out there, that might be being forgotten a little bit. There's also a very good chance that I'm just incredibly jaded, and I may very well be the only person in the world who has this viewpoint. There's also a chance that some may be listening to this thinking I'm huffing a mad amount of copium, but it's something that's been sitting with me for a while now, and after just the absolute sheer degeneracy and belly laughter that I experienced in the last BattleBit play session that I had with my mates, I just felt somewhat obligated to make this video and just, get some thoughts out there about why the focus on fun is so important in first-person shooters, and why I truly think BattleBit is smashing it out of the park in this front. But folks, that does sort of see me come to the end of my rambling thoughts in this video. If you somehow managed to get this far and come away with, you know, agreeing with me to a certain extent, or whatever the case may be, then feel free to hit the like button down below, guys. It does go a long way to supporting the channel. And if you're new here, well, consider subscribing, because we've got a lot more BattleBit content on the way, and I cannot wait to show you guys what kind of shenanigans we get up to. My social media links, including my Twitch channel, which we're doing some test streams on at the moment, are also linked down below, and I highly encourage you guys to check those out as well. Once again, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Peace out, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Take care, guys. Have a good one.